occur again. There's loads in foreign policy that I want to talk to Tobias Ellwood, the former chairman of the Defence Select Committee, former Defence Minister. But just can I get just one answer, Tobias, on what you think about this damning report from and indeed Shabana Mahmood expressing a lack of confidence in the Chief Constable of West Midlands Police and what you've heard from the Israelis there?
Yes, it's been very disturbing to see these events unfold, and all of us, I think, recognising what has happened was so wrong indeed. Poor decision making, and now we see that it was involved in AI as well. The Home Secretary has now made it very, very clear, but she's limited in what powers she has. I now hope that those responsible will take the necessary actions, and certainly that should lead to a senior resignation.
Speaking of necessary action, when we turn our thoughts to Iran, and we've seen within the last couple of hours that British forces who are in Qatar are being withdrawn from those American bases. I don't want to be conspiratorial about this, but all the evidence I'm seeing seems to be leading up to some form of airstrikes by the United States. We know you can say many things about Donald Trump. He is generally pretty consistent. If he says he's going to take strong action, he usually will. What do you think he will do, and what do you think should happen, Tobias?
Yeah, those are the two big questions. And if we just build a picture up there, I mean, firstly, boy, did 2026 begin, with such jaw-dropping, changes from the American administration. But now we see us turn back to the Middle East, reminding us that there's a lot of old challenges and problems there that still remain. We had 3 or 4 weeks of protests. I thought, I have to say, that this 47-year-old theocracy would topple. The regime has form in coming down brutally on its own people, and it has been quite chilling to see the scale of repression demonstrated by the Iranian interior forces. This looked different from the past because of the scale of economic hardship, the food inflation, for example, unemployment drive, corruption. Khamenei himself, very unpopular because he's been supporting Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, as we've discussed in the past, not looking after his own country, then pummeled in that 12-day war by the US and Israel. But Trump, let's put it in perspective. You are right. He does not mince his words, but he's egged on these protests to some degree. I'm not saying
and he said help is coming. It hasn't come yet.
This is where we need to be cautious. What form does that help come? Because simply bombing from afar, as he did back in last year in June, as he did in taking out Soleimani, who was the head of the Quds force, that would have been the moment to then follow up. And my concern is that Donald Trump, for right reasons, does step forward. We're seeing the scale of bloodshed. There's a duty to intervene by the international community after what happened in Rwanda. But then what do you then do? And the concern is that if you then diminish the capability of this regime without any form of follow through, you then hand power to the mighty military force there, which are enormous. And then you end up with a military dictatorship taking over from a theocratic regime. That's the concern that the Middle East have. This is one of the reasons why many of the countries in the regions have remained very, very quiet. They are very scared of where this all might unfold.
It'll be fascinating to see what happens in the next 24, 48 hours. We'll keep you right up to date here on Talk Drive. On Donald Trump, he's insisted that the US needs Greenland. He said that on a number of occasions. He says it needs Greenland for security. These White House talks will be happening soon. Tell me your thought on that and what it might do to NATO, how the United Kingdom should react to this. What do you think?
Well, these are big questions and actually point to where is our fragile world order going. In my view, I think Donald Trump has given up any sense of duty to support it, as previous American presidents have. And he's very much doing what he promised to do when he came into power, to look after his own, put America first, look after the Western Hemisphere.
He would argue he's doing that, Tobias, wouldn't he? He'd say that's part of it. That's part of what he's doing.
Yeah, I don't dismiss that. But when you then go in and take out Maduro, the very unpopular president who actually tweaked the election himself to win it, but then keep the regime, this autocratic regime in place, proving that all you're after is really the oil. When you then turn to Greenland and say, well, I'm doing it for security reasons, but really you've got your eye on those mineral resources. Trump today, right now, could bolster from 200 military personnel in Greenland to as many thousands as he likes. He has a treaty with the Greenlanders to do exactly that. In fact, during the Cold War, we had multiple bases there, NATO bases, including American, and they've all disappeared. So the idea that somehow that Greenland's security is only strong under America is completely wrong indeed. And that's the bigger, tougher question for the West and indeed Britain right now. This is our closest security ally. But we have an American president doing something very unilateral now, which we're simply not used to.
Tobias, thank you. Lots to think about in that. Tobias Ellwood there, the former Defence Minister and former Chairman of the Defence Select Committee. What do you think about what he said there? Should the US intervene in Iran? What about Greenland? What do you think of our response to that? 28 minutes